Okay, Jules, let's break this down.
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated by Diego Simeone's approach in this return leg, right? So he knew they had to score. They're 1-0 down from the first leg. To me, the plan was very, very simple. Keep it tight, wait, maybe tire them out, take something on the counter if it's there, which is why he set up with this. Television had it a 5-4-1 formation. The only thing that made it marginally more attractive than the first leg was the fact that, you had 3 attacking players, if you want to call Lamar and Griezmann attacking players. Although it's a philosophical question. If I tell Griezmann, who is an attacking player, to play as an auxiliary fullback, is he still an attacking player?
He's not anymore, trust me.
And I have João Felix up there, this poor little guy. He looked even younger than he is, about 13, right?
Yeah.
And he's getting batted about. And then obviously at the other end, the big boys getting physical from the beginning. And they said, okay, City, you have the ball. We'll defend deep. You said something off the break that it looked as if City at some point were close to 70% possession, I think, in the first half. It looked as if City were saying, all right, we do not want to give up a goal and inflame the Bernabeu. We're going to keep the ball. We're going to be smart with it. The Wanda Metropolitano. And we're almost going to defend with possession.
Yeah, I think the idea, certainly for the first half, was to defend with the ball, which is harder, I think, to do than it sounds like. Because you say, oh yeah, of course, you keep the ball, but you can't keep the ball in a game like that for more than 70%, I think, away from home. So they tried as much as they could to just defend with having the ball. In that sense, I mean...
That's why maybe they created less than you would have expected them to?
So, for example, where you would maybe at times find the verticality and want De Bruyne in transitions quickly forward, in that time, maybe you find the extra pass, which Pep loves. He always talks about this extra pass, especially in those circumstances and those conditions. If you want, you use Walker as a third centre back. So you forget about Walker almost as a right back. He's purely there when you have the ball as your third centre back. So if ever you lose the ball somewhere on the pitch, wherever that is, you know that the Stones, Laporte and Walker are there in place. And then good luck for whoever wants to run in behind or take them on, 3v3 or 1v1. And that first half worked perfectly. They could have scored with the post, and I think this is a chance they should have taken. And there was a few others but I don't think the idea was to go and score. Of course, if you can score, you're going to score. Right. This is crazy. But not so much with the ball.
I agree with you. I thought that was an interesting approach. Further evidence of that, if you look at Bernardo Silva's starting position, Bernardo Silva, I think obviously a phenomenal footballer, but he's essentially another passer, right? So you have Bernardo Silva and Gundogan and De Bruyne and Rodri and João Cancelo, when he steps into midfield, he can play make. That seemed to be the idea. And I've had Pep talk about this, but when you are doing what you're talking about, defending with the ball, it's extremely physically tiring for the other team. What I do wonder about is we're in the era of the 5 substitutions, though. And I wonder to what degree Diego Simeone figured, okay, fine, you want to do that? Let's do that. And then I'm going to meet you in the second half. And then we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, maybe.
We're not going to score. You're not going to score. And then I'm going to throw on the fresh legs. And then we're going to see what happens. And in the meantime, I'll introduce a bit of edge into the game, as we saw from Phil Foden's head.
Yeah. No, maybe. I thought it was interesting as well, and we saw that against Liverpool on Sunday, and we mentioned it on the show on Monday, and I think we saw it again. Certainly the 2 big chances in the first half come from those long balls in behind from City towards Walker and Cancelo, which is something they never used to do. The idea was always to find a 2v1 somewhere in different areas of the pitch for City to attack. Now, Laporte or Stones don't hesitate to play long towards Cancelo in behind or towards Walker, like we saw in behind with Alexander-Arnold and Robertson against the games in Liverpool. And I think we would see that again on Saturday in the FA Cup semi-final. And this is something that instead sometimes of just playing between the line, because there's a risk, as we saw, for example, on the Bayern goal against Villarreal, where if you try to play forwards from your midfield between the line, there's a risk that the ball gets intercepted and then the other team is on the attack. If you play long like that, if you lose it,
your guys are still on
because
position.
Let's not forget, especially in the game on Wednesday night, what Pep was the most scared is what Atleti would do straight after recovering the ball. So what City worked hard on was, okay, we might lose the ball at some point. We're going to make sure that they don't use it. They can't use it.
And that's a great change, because often when City lose the ball, you have them counter-pressing immediately high up the pitch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not to the degree that some other teams do it, but you see that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Here, it was almost as if, okay, if we lose the ball, our first sense is to regain our shape, to make sure you can't do anything with it.
Exactly.
And again, people say Pep overthinks, people stereotype Pep. I thought that was pretty mature from Pep.
That worked,
and that was correct. That was maybe in some ways Pep going against the stereotype of Pep. But then again, Pep's been going against the stereotype of Pep for the last 10 years. Just that some Muppets haven't noticed.
But to go back to your point about them being under pressure, if you look at it, once Kyle Walker gets that injury, after that, it's far more difficult for them to defend the way they would have liked to defend. And that's when Atleti have that spell where they create half chances where they are the most threatening. I think if Walker is fit and stays on the pitch until the end, I'm not sure the end of the game is the way it was on Wednesday night. I think City cope even better with the threat going forward from Atleti.
I think one thing we haven't mentioned is that this game for City came sandwiched in between the two Liverpool games. Whereas Atleti at the weekend, obviously, they played Mallorca, they lost, they rested players, their heads weren't really in it. I think that also impacted. There's a human side, there's a mental side of it.
Nine players started on Wednesday who started on Sunday for City. It's huge. After the intensity of Sunday against Liverpool, to have 9 of them players still start in a game with as much intensity but in a different way, less running, but the mental intensity and all of that, it's crazy.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.